I don't know what's weirder. The idea of Pooh and friends acting out a Charles Dickens story, or in the fact that we got 2 Easter carols in 2004, the other one being a previously reviewed VeggieTales episode. Now before we go on to the plot of this one, I want to talk about one of the most misunderstood Winnie the Pooh characters. Rabbit. Rabbit is often seen as a stick-in-the-mud type, a prissy, anal-retentive, stubborn, bossy perfectionist. And these things are all true. But there's more to Rabbit than just those negative qualities, even if they're usually in the spotlight more than often. The thing is, Rabbit has a heart, one that's just as big as the rest of his friends. It's just harder to find because Rabbit also believes himself to be smarter than everyone else. This is sometimes true, and sometimes not, but when your best friends include a self-proclaimed bear of very little brain, and a hyperactive jungle cat with the mentality of a boisterous 5-year-old, it's easy to get cocky about your own abilities. But then we have the rabbits seen in episodes like How Much Is That Rabbit in the Window and Find Her Keeper, where he shows his more vulnerable side who really does care about his friends. The latter episode about Rabbit adopting a baby bird and eventually having to let it go proved to be so moving and popular that was spliced into a video compilation called Seasons of Giving. Oh, and guess what? Kessie the bird is on the cover art, but Rabbit isn't. That's just wrong. Seriously though, I grew up with that episode and I still cry like no one's business at it. What I'm trying to say is, in Springtime with Roo, Roo's name might be in the title, but this is first and foremost Rabbit's story. The video opens with the 100 Acre Woods gang skipping to Rabbit's house, where the Easter festivities are to take place. Rabbit, however, insists that it's spring cleaning day, and dodges any references to Easter itself. He assigns everyone chores inside, while he works outside in his garden, much to his own delight. Pooh and his friends find the Easter decorations and supplies hidden in the closet, and deduce that Rabbit forgot what day it really is. They decorate his house themselves, but to say Rabbit doesn't appreciate the effort is an understatement. Tigger takes it upon himself to talk to Rabbit for everyone's sake, especially Roo. This is where the Christmas Carol part really comes into play. With the help of the narrator, they travel back in time to the storybook to Chapter 3, Last Easter. You know, maybe it's good that these characters aren't terribly bright. Knowing that your entire existence takes place in a book is a pretty terrifying existential concept. Apparently last year, Rabbit really threw himself into the Easter festivities, but only in a way pleasing to him. He micromanaged everything to a ridiculous extent that his friends essentially ditched him, much to his dismay. This leads to some great voice acting from Ken Sanson as Rabbit.
Every spring, I look forward to one thing most of all, being the Easter Bunny. You took that away from me.
All of Rabbit's voice actors over the years have been good, but I think Ken was the one who truly brought a human touch to the character. Unmoved by an incredibly saccharine moment with Roo in the present, Rabbit stomps back to his hutch, and the narrator takes things into his own hands. Taking on the role of Easter yet to come, he shows Rabbit that in the future all of his friends will have moved away, having had enough of his bossy attitude. While I think this is a stretch even for the world of Pooh, Rabbit takes it to heart and gives everyone the fun Easter they wanted in the first place. There have been numerous Winnie the Pooh books, movies, series, specials, etc., and I'd probably put Springtime with Roo somewhere squarely in the middle of the massive franchise. While I didn't quite buy the idea of Rabbit's friends abandoning the woods in the future if Rabbit didn't lighten up, everything else seemed pretty in character. I like the moral ambiguity, never thought I'd see that in a Pooh video, stuff with the past Easter scene. Rabbit was being a controlling jerk, and yet he was still sympathetic when he was shown to be sad that his friends had ditched his Easter plans to have their own fun. The animation was pretty lively, the songs were cute, although not terribly memorable, and all the voice actors were their usual talented selves. My favorite aspect of it had to be the use of the book itself. The gimmick of the world being enclosed in a storybook was a delightful part of the original shorts, but it's never really been utilized that often since then, with a few exceptions being the Book of Pooh puppet series and the 2011 Pooh movie. I always thought it was a really clever idea, and it was nice to see it used so well here, even if it did raise a few questions about the possibilities of time travel in the 100 Acre Woods. Of course, our main characters aren't all terribly that bright, so the full potential of the world in a book thing will likely never occur to them, and that's probably a good thing. You know, I really love Winnie the Pooh as a character, but at the same time, I understand why he might be somewhat grating on Rabbit. After all, we can watch Pooh whenever we want, but Rabbit's been living with him as a neighbor for a long time. As I get older, I feel I can relate to Rabbit more and more. For instance, in Winnie the Pooh and Tigger 2, Rabbit does pull a very dirty trick on Tigger by abandoning him in the deep woods for what Rabbit deems as his own good, but throughout the rest of the cartoon, before and after this, Rabbit suffers a lot at Tigger's hands. Well, mostly his tail, actually. So, while I felt bad for Tigger at the end where he is almost forced to keep his promise to never bounce again, as a kid, as an adult I can't help but sympathize just a little more with Rabbit. I guess that's part of growing up. One day you just realize you're more of a Bert than you are an Ernie. A.A. Milne wrote a lot about the loss of innocence that comes with childhood end, and I think I get it. Just maybe not in the way he originally intended. Okay, one last thing. I know I made a big deal about how Rabbit is a neglected Pooh character, which I stand by, but do you know who really gets the short end of the carrot stick? Kanga. Seriously, I know that the supporting mother archetype isn't the most fun per se, but I think they could really stand to use her more and have fun with her being the only, mostly sane character in the series. Heck, she's barely in the Easter special and doesn't even get to join any of the festivities at the end. Marketability, thy name is not Kanga. I should also mention poor Owl doesn't even get mentioned in the special either. And I hate to say it, I almost forgot about mentioning him myself until a few people who I was talking to reminded me of him. I am so sorry, Owl. And as for Gopher, well, he's not in the book. Oh, and remember how Rabbit wasn't on the cover art for Seasons of Giving despite having those memorable scenes? Well, he's not on the cover Springtime with Roo either. No justice, no respect. So that's Springtime with Roo. As always, I hope you enjoyed this review, and if you weren't a fan of Rabbit before this, perhaps you can appreciate him just a little more now. If you also have any strong opinions on Rabbit or any Winnie the Pooh character, please comment and let me know.